Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1892, Love to Read Book Club recap. So today we had, sorry, I have to cross this one off. Today we had our second book club meeting, and today we discussed this book here, The Traveler's Gift by Andy Anderson, and it is the 7 decisions that determine personal success. This book's a favorite of mine. I have to say this. And this one's a fairly new copy because I don't know where my old beaten up copy is. It is one that I have read often over the years. But this book is, how do you describe this book? It's told in parable form. It's a story. So he takes, there's 7 decisions that determine personal success. And Andy Anderson tells it through story. And this is what I love about his books. He's got some really great books. And they're all told in story form, with great lessons included in them. And this is one of them. And The Traveler's Gift is about a guy called David Ponder who's down on his luck, lost his job, has to take care of his family, his wife and his daughter, and he's trying to find work. His wife is actually bringing him more money than he is, and he's not happy about that. And he's just feeling very beaten down, and then he's working in a hardware store, and his wife calls to let him know that his daughter needs to have her tonsils taken out and what the cost is going to be. And he gets fired for taking a personal call at work because the boss said, "Come on, we've got to get moving." And he's trying to find out from his wife what's going on with their daughter, which I thought, well, that was very unfair, very uncompassionate of the store owner. And so then he's trying to figure things out, and he goes for the stride, and it sounds like, he makes it sound like he's going to go somewhere that he probably shouldn't. And but he ends up taking this traveler. He travels through history, and he gets to talk to some amazing people. Like the first person he talks to is Harry S. Truman. And he talks to Harry S. Truman on the day that they had the war conference in Germany, where he met with Sir Winston Churchill and the Russian guy, Stalin, I think it was. And that's when they decided how they were going to end World War II with dropping the bomb on Hiroshima. So he's meeting with Truman just before that happens. And Harry S. Truman gives him, and they chit-chat backwards and forwards about how you can't let your past determine your future. And he says, and he gives him the first decision. And now what he does is that each time he goes to one of these places, he goes to 7 different places, and each time he goes, he gets given a letter from each person. And the idea is that you read each letter a couple of times a day until you learn it and start implementing it. And so the first decision is the buck stops here. And, you will not, I will not let history control my destiny. It's basically the what that one's all about. And then it takes you through the different steps on how to not let history determine your destiny. And they say things are in the past. You can't do anything about the past, but you can do something about the future. You have options. And throughout this whole book, it's talking about choices. You have the choice to do this. You have the choice to do that. And then when he finishes reading that, he ends up way back in ancient times, way back, and he meets King Solomon. And he comes, and there's an event taking place with King Solomon that is a very well-known event in the Bible. And he gets to actually witness that from that Bible story. And the second decision is, I will seek wisdom. God moves mountains to create the opportunity of his choosing. It is up to you to be ready to move yourself. So this is just like the title of the decision, and then the subtitle, and then there's a whole piece that comes underneath it. Then as soon as he finishes reading that letter, he then moves to the next place. So as soon as he finishes reading the last word in that letter, he then moves to the next place. He then meets, I've got to go back and find his full name because that's not the full name there. Not chapter 1, chapter 5, that's this one. He goes and he meets up with Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, who is he's in the Civil War at Gettysburg. Yes, at Gettysburg. And he says, I am a person of action, is his decision. Many people move out of the way for a person on the run. Others are caught up in his wake. So you're going to be the one to, So it's all very interesting stuff that comes out of this. The fourth decision, and so then he goes from there and he ends up on a ship in the middle of the ocean. What ship is he on? He's on the Santa Maria, the ship for Christopher Columbus. It was Santa Maria, wasn't it? Yeah, Santa Maria. I don't know, that one just came out. And he had I have all of these flagged. Takes me a minute to find them. Yeah, the Santa Maria. And he has the Nina and the Pinto with him that he can see from the ships. And Christopher Columbus takes him up into the crow's nest, and they have a discussion up there. And the fourth decision is, I have a decided heart. Criticism, condemnation, and complaint are creatures of the wind. They come and go on the wasted breath of lesser beings and have no power over me. So you get to see them demonstrate some of this as David's talking with these famous people. Then he disappears and he ends up in this attic, and he meets Anne Frank. And her one was, today I choose to be happy. Our very lives are fashioned by choice. First we make choices, then our choices make us. And I thought about that, and I thought, there's this girl that was living in this attic. And if you've ever read the diary, actually, I have not read the Diary of Anne Frank. I have heard bits and pieces of it. I really do need to go. Maybe I'll do that as a book a month. Diary of Anne Frank. It was not one we had to read in school. I know some other schools read it, but it wasn't one we had to read. But today I would choose to be happy, and it's making choices. Our very lives are fashioned by choice. First we make choices, then our choices make us. That is so true, because you have options in things. Am I going to go down this path? Am I going to go down this path? And whichever path you go down, that's, you've now made that decision. And when you go down that path, you're going to become who you become because of the choice you made. I like that one. So then he disappears from that, and he ends up with Abraham Lincoln as, what was Abe doing? Hang on, I got to go back and find Abe. I don't know why that's in there. Just found my bookmark in the middle of the book. He is just after I think this was just after he delivered the Gettysburg Address. I think that's when they met up with each other. I can't find it right now. And Abraham Lincoln, they always have this discussion. Then he hands over the letter, and his letter was, the sixth decision, which I will greet this day with a forgiving spirit. You'll find that God really uses a person whose main concern is what others are thinking. So always good. Always, always good. I love this stuff, I tell you. And then the seventh decision. Now this, I have to tell you, this chapter for the where they talk about the seventh decision, he ends up in this place. He can't see the ceiling. He can't see the walls around it. It's just this massive place, and there's just a whole pile of stuff. Anything you can think of is in this place. And it is just an incredible chapter when they talk about what is in this room. And then he gets to meet, hang on, I just got to quickly find this one thing, because it really hit me and I will tell you, this chapter had the biggest impact on me. It always has the biggest impact on me when I read this chapter. Where is it? Because they're walking around and they're looking at different things. There's coats, there's cars, there's boats, there's piles of paper, there's photographs, there's anything you can think of. It is in this room, in this place. And he comes across this old pile of papers. Oh, I totally missed it. Hang on. I should have marked this one, because this one. But what he does come across, which is kind of eerie, and this is what had me I can't find it. But he's going through this room with and he meets the Archangel Gabriel, and he's taking him through this place, but he won't tell him what. Oh, there it is. He won't tell him what this room is. He's trying to prompt David to figure out what it is. And they come across this pile of paper. He's looking through these different ones that look like, he says, from biology class years before, David recognized the word as was Latin for some sort of plant. And holding the papers in his hand, David turned to Gabriel and said, I don't get it. What are these? One of them, Gabriel said as he moved toward David, I believe it was the 8th page you looked at, is the cure for pancreatic, liver, and colon cancer. And he said, yeah, they're included in this. And then there was included, there is a machine that will regenerate the optic nerve, allowing even those who are blind from birth to see. And then he's talking about all these other things, all these medical devices, all these cures and everything else. And then he comes across this basket of photographs, and he looks at this basket of photographs. And in the photograph is, I just lost it again. I just had it. And it's a room that you go through, and it's never ending. It's never ending. And it's all talking about, and it all comes down, this room is about making choices and things like that, the choices that we make and where they lead us to, and what we end up giving up because of the choices that we've made. And he ends up finding these photographs, this photograph, and in the photograph there are there's I think himself, his wife, and 3 children, and actually he has a daughter, but there's 2 others in the photograph. And he asked if he's seen it. It says, you've only seen a tiny fraction of the facility. And he stopped near the basket of loose pictures. Reaching in, he removed the one Gabriel had placed there earlier, the one with 2 children David had found so familiar. And Gabriel said, the boy's name is Jason and the girl is Julia. And he goes, and he looks at it and he says, these are the names that my grandfather was Jason. And in fact, if Jenny had been a boy, Al and I were going to name it baby Jason. We always said that if there was a second girl, it would be Julia. And he starts talking about it, and he realizes that, and he's going, and so finally asks, he says again, what is this place? And Gabriel says to him, this, my friend, is a place that never was. In other words, this is a room full of missed opportunities that we have been given in life. And when I read this chapter and seeing all this stuff and hearing all of this stuff, he even asked if he could keep the photograph of his 2 kids, and he said, no, Jason and Julia do not exist. The time for their arrival has passed. The opportunity is missed. There is no second chance. And this chapter just spoke to me so much, because it's sort of like, out of all the choices whenever I have made a choice in life, where has that led me? What have I given up to make that choice? What do I have sitting in the place that never was? I call it the room of missed opportunities. And, thinking back to Harry S. Truman's one, the buck stops with me. I am the one responsible for the choices I make. Nobody else is responsible for my choices. I am the only person that is responsible for my choices. And this is the theme that goes through this whole book and these 7 decisions. And the 7th, I lost it. The 7th decision is, I will persist without exception. Reason can only be stretched so far, but faith has no limits. The only limit to your realization of tomorrow the only limit of your realization of tomorrow is the doubt you hold fast today. And throughout this whole book, everything's become clear that it is the decisions that we make in our life that determine our path. Nobody else is responsible for the decisions we make. And it's just, the buck, as Truman said, the buck stops with us. So this is the Traveler's Gift. Awesome, awesome, awesome read. Lots of great stuff in there. Reading that, and I'm not going to read out all the 7 decisions because it takes a couple of minutes to read each one. But grab yourself a copy if you haven't, and just have a read of this, and see what you think of the 7 decisions. They all impacted me in some way, and Frank, because each day I choose to be happy. Well, every morning I get out of bed, I choose to be super fantastic and sparkling. So that's my happy. But this book is just such a powerful book, and I had totally forgotten about how powerful this book is. And I actually met somebody. I was out walking Zephyr one night, and this woman was walking along the street, and she was like this. And I saw the cover, and I thought, that cover looks familiar. I go, excuse me. I said, what book are you reading? She goes, The Traveler's Gift. I went, awesome book. And she She goes, oh, have you read it? I said, yes, many times. And she goes, oh, well, I'm in this place. She said, there's all this stuff everywhere. And I said, oh, that's the chapter that had the biggest impact on me. I said, when you keep reading it, you'll find out why. Because it really starts you thinking and asking questions. I said, and I said, did you know that there's actually a follow-up book to this book? And which is just as good as this one is. I don't know if the name of it's in here, but there is a follow-up one to this one. Maybe it's in the back of the book. Hang on. The Noticer, The Butterfly Effect, Mastering the 7 Decisions, The Young Traveler's Gift. Oh, no, it doesn't mention what it is here. I love this. It's got a bibliography in the back. And even has questions, so you can actually go through. There's questions in the back of the book, so you can actually go through, and it's got questions for each chapter to help you think things through a little more and all of that. But there is a follow-up to The Traveler's Gift. Let me see if I can find it real quick, which is just as powerful as The Traveler's Summit. I think that's what it's called. The Traveler's Summit, the remarkable sequel to The Traveler's Gift. So if you have read The Traveler's Gift, go read it again and then read The Traveler's Summit. And The Traveler's Summit is David Ponder is back, and the fate of civilization may be in his hands. And so it is, again, it is a powerful, it is another powerful book, just as powerful as this one. So that was The Traveler's Gift. Great. Love this book. Great reading and everything else. So I do have one that's a little more tattered, but I can't find it. It's probably still in a box somewhere. I still have books to unpack. Still going through my books. But it was good to have a fresh copy and go through and put marking and highlight different things in there that be interesting to go back and get my other copy and see what highlights I have gotten that. So what are we going to be reading this month? This month we are going to be reading, it's the first in a series, but I read the blurb for this book, and I'm like, I have to read this book. I have not read this book. And when I got it, it was actually on sale on Amazon. So I actually got the physical copy because the physical copy was cheaper than the Kindle edition at the time. But this is this month's book we are going to be reading. Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Caine. And this is the blurb on the back of this book. The killing didn't stop when they caught her husband. Gina Royal is the definition of average, a shy Midwestern housewife with a happy marriage and 2 adorable children. But when a car accident reveals her husband's secret life as a serial killer, she must remake herself as Gwen Proctor, the ultimate warrior mom. I was like, ooh, warrior mom, like this one. With her ex now in prison, Gwen has finally found refuge in a new home on remote Stillhouse Lake. Though still the target of stalkers and internet trolls who think she had something to do with her husband's crimes, Gwen dares to think her kids can finally grow up in peace. But just when she's starting to feel at ease in her new identity, a body turns up in the lake, and threatening letters start arriving from an all too familiar address. Gwen Proctor must keep friends close and enemies at bay to avoid being exposed, or watch her kids fall victim to a killer who takes pleasure in tormenting her. One thing is certain, she's learned how to fight evil, and she'll never stop. So that's how, and I was reading that, I was getting chills, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good read. This is going to be a good read. So I'm looking forward to reading this. It's, how many pages in this book? I don't know. Oh, there's a soundtrack here. Ooh, there's 286 pages, but page 287 is a soundtrack. And this is from Rachel Caine. She wrote, I choose music for each book I write to help guide me through the intense process. And Stillhouse Lake presented an interesting exercise in finding just the right groove to help Gwen through this tense story. I hope you enjoy the musical experience as much as I did. And please remember, piracy hurts musicians, and musicians' aggregation services don't provide a living. Buying the song or the album direct is still the best way to show your love and help the artists create their work. And then she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. She's got about 20 songs here. She's got a whole playlist. It's really cool. I'm like looking at the through. Do I know any of these? I know the first song. I don't know any of the. No, that's not the version I know. I don't recognize any of them. Actually, I do recognize that one. There's about 3 out of the 20 songs of the titles that I recognize. Now, it could mean that I don't know any of the other songs, or it could mean that I do know the songs, I just didn't know what they were called. So I'm going to pull up some of these songs in the playlist. So that's going to be our book read for October, Stillhouse Lake. We will then be meeting on November 2nd to discuss this book. So if you want to join us, come to us on Facebook. I should have put up the Facebook QR code. Hang on. I'm going to switch QR codes here on you. All right, that's the Love to Read one. And then going across the bottom here is, there we go, change what's going across the bottom. Is it going to flip for me? Yes, there we go. So if you want to join us in reading Rachel Cain's Stillhouse Lake, apparently it's the first in a series, and I looked on Amazon before and there's like 6 books in the series, so I'm curious to see this one to see if I want to go read the other 5. But come join us on this one. You can join us at the, I always feel like I'm pointing in the wrong direction, at the Love to Read book club. Just scan this QR code and it will take you straight to their Facebook group there, where you can join us, and this will be the book that we are reading this month, and we'll be discussing it on November the 2nd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So without further ado, that is us for the day. Come join us. If you have read The Traveler's Gift, please leave in the comments below what you thought of the book, your thoughts, your ideas on the book. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What stuck out to you? What had the most impact on you? Was there one decision that had the most impact on you? For me, it was that whole walk through the place that never was with the Archangel Gabriel. So all the other ones had impacts, but that was one that had the biggest impact, the biggest aha for me. So let us know what your thoughts are on this book if you have read it. If you haven't read it yet and you go and read it, then let us know what your thoughts are. And the book club will be back. Book club discussion recap will be back on the 2nd of November, and we'll be talking about this book, Stillhouse Lake. So come join us. And with that, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6